the other way. He said, "They just brought a baby into your house." So I knew I didn't know I didn't know Mom was pregnant. So yeah, there's. And
you didn't know?
That's the thing I remember. I don't remember seeing you. I remember being told that you were there.
Well, he was 8 years old. You know, how much do 8-year-olds pay attention?
Yeah, that's true.
Even I was 12 when Dave arrived, and somebody said they're having a baby shower on your mother, and I said, why? You know, I mean, clueless.
Oh my gosh.
It was a different world. You know, they didn't have TV and all this stuff thrown in.
But as you said, Dick, that was a small house.
Yeah.
And you went by and looked at it, and they changed it a lot from when we lived there.
Right.
They filled in the porch, and there had been a porch, and they closed that. When we lived there, there must have been 3 bedrooms, but as I think almost every house had 3 bedrooms, but certainly with 1 bathroom and probably a living room and a dining room and a kitchen. But 4 adults and 6 children lived there for a couple of years together, and the circumstances of them leaving. See, what happened is Dad lost his job, and they were having trouble making their mortgage payments. So, you know, Dad is so ingenious. I'm sure he's the one that came up with the idea. Well, we'll move in together, and so we did. We lived together for several years there, and then the opportunity came up for Orville and Edith and their children to move up to East Troy to work on O'Brien's farm.
Yeah.
And I visited them up there several times, or once very distinctly. And so we had the house, and I assume Mom and Dad were making the mortgage payments. But in 1935, Dad got a full-time job as a second driver on a beer truck.
Mm-hmm.
And his job was to unload beer barrels at the Prohibition had ended, and the Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer Company was where Dad worked. It was on Elston Avenue, and it was a very unionized job. So he got in the union as a helper on the beer truck, and it was hard, heavy work, you know, beer barrels. And Dad was not a big guy, but that was kind of that's when we moved to Kimball, because he had a job that we could afford to have and probably the bank wanted that house, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why we moved to Kimball Avenue.
Yeah.
And I remember moving to Kimball Avenue and sitting on the front steps and watching all the cars go by, because Roscoe, there was a car went by every half hour. And Kimball, we were going by all the time.
Right.
I used to sit out on the front steps and watch all the cars.
Yeah.
Why did the bank, you think, want the house on Roscoe?
I don't know the circumstances, but
Probably behind in the payments.
The mortgage was probably in default, and by 35, maybe things were starting to pick up a little bit, and they wanted to sell the house, you know.
Right, right.
I'm surmising that. Nothing was ever said, you know.
No.
Boy, our parents never let us know there was any problem with money at all.
Wow.
I never. The only thing we know about money is instances like when Dick wanted to go to St. George, and Mom said, "How much does it cost?"
Yeah, that was a very short conversation.
Yeah.
You don't remember anybody ever saying anything about being short of money, do you?
No. But you've heard that conversation.
Yeah.
How much does it cost? 125. St. Michael's is 50. Okay.
That was it.
In the conversation.
I love it.
But Dad was always working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, during the war, he had a part-time job too, didn't he?
yeah.
Something about rubber mats or something like that? You know
Yeah.
what he did?
Yeah, he would do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, between the time you were born and the time we moved to Roscoe,
That's when he worked.
You used to move once a year, didn't you?
Yeah,
You had
well,
all those
we
houses?
didn't, we weren't the only ones.
That was very
Everybody
common.
moved. Moving day was May 1st, and half the city would move to a different house
Mm-hmm.
every
Every
May.
So odd.
Because they were everybody was
All the
renting.
leases
Nobody
were,
owned,
yeah, everything was
nobody owned
leased.
their own home at that time.
Right.
I was gonna say, at that point in time too, I know my grandparents, my dad's parents, lost their house because they would buy a house with like a 7-year payment and then a balloon
Mm-hmm.
that was due. And if you didn't save up the money, you know, which most people don't, then you lost the house. It was
Oh,
kind of a
gosh.
crapshoot as far as the banks were concerned.
Yeah.
My grandfather worked as a boiler maker and that, but when that 7-year thing was up, suddenly, there you are.
Do you remember where you were living at that? Or you always lived in Norwood Park, though, right?
Well, yes, we lived across from the warehouse. At first, that was the apartment my folks lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Then they moved to a small house up on Imlay Avenue, just
Mhm.
right near Harlem and the highway, but on one of the side streets.
And that was
Small.
really country then, wasn't it?
Well, I guess it was, because they said the Route 12 Northwest Highway was a dirt road. you
Yeah.
know. So it wasn't all that much then.
And I remember you saying you used to go through a cornfield on your way to.
Oh, for
school.
rents, yeah. And then we moved to an apartment down on Raven,
Uh-huh.
down near Milwaukee Avenue. We lived there
Mhm.
when my sister was born.
Mhm.
And then we moved up to 6410 North New England, which
Mhm.
was one of the streets down there. We lived in a 2-bedroom house. A lot of 2-bedroom houses then.
Oh, yeah,
You know, we think
yeah.
3, but they
That's
didn't
why
live that
I'm
way.
puzzled. I can't
Yeah.
imagine that house in Roscoe had 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, I would not have thought so
Mm-hmm.
of just looking at it.
But you know, it's like even at Kimball Avenue. I remember telling you, I don't remember where I used to sleep when Granddaddy came up.
Yeah, I can't imagine where you slept. You must have slept on the couch in the front room or something.
But I never thought anything about it. You know, I just don't remember.
Well, my dad.
But we know where he slept. He slept in the dining room for 18 years.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Not 18 years.
Well, it's 11 years or so.
Yeah.
35.
But my dad spotted the house we lived in then on Clarence Avenue when he
Mhm.
was doing a moving estimate, and these people were moving, and
Mhm.
he said to my mother, there's this house, and I think we ought to go ahead and buy it, and it was $5,400 for the house.
And that was a nice
Oh my
house.
gosh.
And the neighbors said, oh, you could have gotten it for less, you know, well, you know,
Huh.
there's always the neighbors that have the
Yes.
idea. But we bought it, and it had been rented, because it was 12 years old at that time. It
Mhm.
had been built in 12 years before 1941. And it had 4 layers of wallpaper on it.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing my folks did was steam the wallpaper off. They had kind of a
That must have
party
been.
with friends.
That was a hard job, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, they used a steamer and spatulas to get all that paper off.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And we had kind of a work day, if you will, and their friends came and helped.
Mhm.
I remember that.
Well, in those days, you cleaned the wallpaper every
Yeah, wallpaper
spring.
cleaner. It was
Uh-huh.
kind of like Play-Doh.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because
The thing you used was Play-Doh or
It looked
Yeah,
like
it
that,
was,
yeah, it was wallpaper cleaner.
wallpaper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
because everybody was, all the houses were being warmed with coal.
Yeah.
So it was all soot.
Yeah.
Ish.
so that's-
Whatever.
built
And
in.
I'll never forget Dad and me and I don't know.
This is your great-grandfather, then these are
Mm.
the
Oh.
people. It's not a genealogical,
Mhm.
correct, but this, George Rowland had 2
Mhm.
people. He had George
I'm
Akers.
interested.
Mhm.
Yeah, George Gideon and Charles Columbus.
Well,
Then they in
that's-
turn had
Obviously not.
more than 2 sons.
Yeah,
And that's how it came down. That's
yeah.
what I used for the picture.
But I remember when my mom would say it's lunchtime, and my dad would say, "Give me a pencil so I can mark where we've been," you know.
I don't remember, that
It
must
might
have happened when I
happened.
was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could have. But he was pretending like, yeah, we were cleaning it off, but we couldn't tell the difference between what was clean and what was dirty.
Was
Oh,
that in
right.
the living room and the dining room?
Yeah.
I think I told the last time you were here, I told the story about, Celeste hasn't heard it. When I was about 7th or 8th grade, Mom would buy a quarter of a pound of sandwich meat. So for a treat, we would have meat in our sandwiches that we took to school. And she tried to keep it in the refrigerator, but I would always steal a piece of it at night. So she got very clever, and she wouldn't leave it in the refrigerator or the icebox, whatever. She put it in a pantry. There was a pantry window, and she'd open the window and put it on the windowsill. So I fully was hiding it from me, but I found her hiding place, and I still had my piece of spiced ham before I went to bed.
Oh my gosh.
So I was,
Neighborhood cat got it.
of course, I was accosted about this, that I was doing this. So, I thought I was very clever that Mom had put it on the outside of the pantry window, and I had still found it.
Oh my.
So I was bragging to my parents, you couldn't hide it a place that I couldn't find it, Mom. So we're in the dining room, and Dad said, "Is that right, Mom? I'll tell you what, I will hide," I forget what it was, I'll hide something, and you find it for me. So I went out of the room, and he hid, I doubt it was sandwich meat, but he hid something that I knew about. So I came back into the room, and Mom and Dad were in the dining room, and so I started hunting for whatever they had hidden. And I hunted, and I could not find what they had hidden. But Dad proved to me that I was not as smart as I thought I was.
Where was it?
It was underneath the dining room table, there was a little
nook.
cubby hole.
Yeah.
Where the two pieces of the table the dining room table came together.
Oh my.
And I guess he knew when the whole thing started, that was what he was going to put it. I looked high and
Everywhere.
low in that room. I couldn't find it.
How many grammar schools did you go to?
3.
Name them.
St. Gregory's for 1st and 2nd grade, St. Pascal's for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and O Mercy for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Oh, okay.
So,
St. Pascal's, that was up in
Irving Park.
Irving Park.
And near Narragansett, not about a half a mile east of Narragansett, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
was that that was the parish when we lived on
Roscoe.
Roscoe,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was about 6 blocks from our house
Yeah.
we walked to school every day.
Well, I was lucky. I only went to 1 grammar school. Don went to 2.
Yeah, we went all the way through Mercy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irma
Don-
probably went to 2.
And Don transferred about 6th grade too, didn't he?
To St. Edward's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not traumatic, but it was not fun moving to a different school, you know, you have to make all
You
new
got all
friends.
friends
And some of the, and most of the guys have been together ever since 1st grade, you know, so you're trying to break into
right.
a
new
crowd that's
crowd.
been together forever, so.
Yeah, that's not fun.
But
Well, I was surprised talking to Hans and Ellsworth and Beth that I don't think any of them were in 1st grade with me. Ellsworth, when his dad died when he was soon after he was born, and they went to an orphanage he went to an orphanage for first grade.
No kidding.
And then they came over in second grade. Hans Zotman moved back to Germany.
Yeah, I think I remember
In
you telling me that.
1935.
Wow.
And
When did he get back to the States?
1938.
Wow, that got out just in
Put him with
time.
fire there.
Did he ever tell you
Wow.
the circumstances of that?
No, I don't think I've ever asked him, but.
You ought to ask him.
Yeah,
before it's
next
too
time I
late.
see him.
Well, they came to the States and his folks didn't find the work that his dad had hoped to find.
Uh-huh.
So he had been born here in the States,
He was born in the States.
and then his sister was born in Germany.
Oh.
When they went
Yes.
back to Rita.
Yeah, she was born in 35
And
over
then
in
they
Germany.
decided they better get out of there, so
Get out
they
of Germany.
That's interesting. When they were in Germany, they didn't like the way things were looking, so they came back. Huh?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Wow.
perceptive.
And they weren't Jewish, were they?
No, and I didn't realize his last name is Zotman with
Oh.
2 N's.
Yeah,
And he tells me that if you
Yeah.
had 1 N, you were Jewish.
yeah,
And if you had 2 N's, you weren't
Right.
Jewish.
yeah. I didn't know that fairly, the last few years I found that out. I didn't
Yeah.
know it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So that's how they,
New.
Germans knew who was Jewish by the 1 or 2 N's at the end of the name. I also found out recently that Gottlieb in German means God lover. So we have a couple of friends named Gottlieb. Now, my kids grew up, Andrew's best friend was a boy named Michael Gottlieb. And I never realized that, I don't know any German at all, but just found out recently that Gottlieb, which is a very common Jewish name, means God lover.
Hmm.
That probably has to do something with being rabbi, a rabbinical family, don't you think?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Things were so different back then.
Yes, indeed.
God, I remember it took Don and it had to take us a couple of hours to get out to
Yeah.
North Shore Country Club,
Yeah.
hitchhiking, you
Yeah.
know, because a lot of people picked up hitchhikers in those days,
Oh, yeah.
but not everybody did.
Mhm.
So we'd
You
wait.
never knew, when you start out, you didn't know how long it was gonna take you.
Right. So I think we left about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And,
You would have to, yeah.
Yeah,
Just to be sure you got there.
yeah. In time to
Did
What
work.
time did you have to get there to work?
Well, the first tee outs were usually around 8 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
And how did you start going out there? You remember?
Yeah, Tom Berry, who ended up being my CPA and just died recently.
He died?
Yeah.
Just
He,
just months.
Oh.
He lived over on Sacramento by the L train.
Yeah.
And he had a neighbor who lived about a half a block away who was a member at North Shore Country Club.
Oh, my gosh.
And he said to Tom.
That was a pretty fancy neighborhood over there.
Yeah, and he said to Tom, you ought to come out to North Shore and caddy.
I'll be darned.
So he started doing that, and then he told me and told Jack Morrison, and
Mhm.
just a whole bunch of us ended up going out there and
A lot.
caddying.
Whole bunch of you did, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And,
What did you make?
hmm?
How much could you make?
We made $1.25.
For the round?
Yes.
What does Kimmy make now?
25, $30.
Oh my
Holy
God.
mackerel. That's
She
wonderful.
makes about 75,
I think she makes a lot, yeah,
Yeah.
compared to that.
That's amazing.
And,
Oh my
and if we
God.
were lucky, we got $1 tip maybe.
Yeah.
Oh
That would-
my gosh.
That would be a heck of a tip.
Yeah,
Probably sometimes you only got 50 cents or
I
something.
would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
we would usually only get 1 round a day. Seldom would we get 2. And then we start hitchhiking back home, and that would take a couple hours too.
Yeah.
And then one time we got arrested, taken over to the Wilmette
You
police
did?
department. Yeah, we were standing on the corner of Glenview Road and Cicero.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, do they call it Skokie in those days? I don't think
Skokie,
so.
yeah. Skokie.
And across the street from us was a florist with glass windows, and on our side of the street was
Greenhouse.
apple trees. And so we were throwing apples at each other. And the florist called the police, and the Wilmette police came and picked us up, took us back to the police station.
Oh, gee.
Now we're in Wilmette. We don't know how to get home from Wilmette.
Oh, gee.
Oh my God.
I don't think we got home until about 9 o'clock that night.
Oh, and mom and dad didn't know where you were.
No.
Oh my gosh.
As
I never
usual-
heard that story before.
Yeah, as usual, they were sitting on the front porch, or my mom was.
Uh-huh.
Dad was probably out working or something. But I don't know how we got home from Wilmette.
You remember what grade you were in at that time, Dick?
Well, we still lived on Kimball.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I was probably in
You had to be 7th or 8th grade, I guess.
7th grade, 8th grade, something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
that was
What did the cops say? Were they?
I don't recall. I think
Because they finally let you loose, huh?
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
they didn't arrest us.
Where would the Wilmette Police Station be?
Somewhere.
It's probably on Green Bay Road.
Yeah, I think.
I have no idea. It seemed to me it wasn't on a busy road, but I could be mistaken. But I have friends who now that said they caddied at Westmoreland. Well, had we known about Westmoreland, we probably would have caddied there, because it's a little closer
Then,
than North Shore. North Shore was a real hike.
yeah.
Especially when you're hitchhiking.
Trying to remember,
And
what road would you have hitchhiked from? Cicero or?
Well, when we lived on Kimball,
Yeah.
we would take the bus up to Peterson. I think that was the end of the line.
Uh-huh.
And then we'd walk from Peterson over to Lincoln Avenue,
Yeah.
which was probably a half a
Oh, yeah,
mile.
I remember that. That would be about it.
And then we started hitchhiking on Lincoln and Kimball.
Wow.
And then we hitchhiked up to Cicero, and Cicero to Glenview Road.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Glenview
boy.
Road up. So it was a minimum of 3 rides
Yeah, gee.
to get there.
Wow.
Yeah, that was something.
And you never see anybody hitchhiking anymore.
Well, that very rarely, and usually if there
It's
are,
discouraged.
then nobody picks them up.
And
They're
when we
usually
started-
homeless people.
And then on Mondays, we'd hitchhike with our golf club.
Oh, that's right. You could,
Oh, my
well, you
gosh.
could play that
We
day.
could go play.
Yeah.
You don't mind me recording, I hope.
You recording?
I have been recording.
Oh, okay.
Surprise, surprise.
That's a good idea. It was a good.
I love the stories.
Yeah.
I think all of us are, and I'm not including just me, I'm including
Yeah.
anyone in our family. We'd
Yeah.
love
And
to hear this.
I was, Tom Berry, I ended up, the ones that went to high school, to St. Mike's,
Mhm.
was me and Marty Morris and Tom Berry. Most of the other guys went to DePaul Academy.
Oh, what about Hans Zepman?
Hans went to study to be a priest,
Oh, he did.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
But he go? Oh, he went to Quigley then.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tom Berry flunked out in his senior year,
No kidding.
and so he didn't graduate till a year after me.
I wonder why that would happen.
He got in with the wrong
I'm
crowd.
gonna say pretty hard to flunk out of grammar
They
school.
would ditch school a lot and go
Oh.
downtown and go to the movies,
Uh-huh.
things like that.
Oh.
And
Where did Tom live, do you remember?
yeah, he lived on Sacramento by the L tracks, up towards Lawrence
You know,
Avenue.
there was a fairly fancy neighborhood back in those days.
Yeah.
I had a friend that lived on Wilson Avenue, and
Yeah, I think he lived between Wilson and
Yeah.
Eastwood.
I remember I always felt like the rich kids lived east of Kedzie and the poor kids lived west of Kedzie.
Yeah. But So I really enjoy going back to the neighborhood every
Oh, yeah.
October. I just, you know, you spend 11 years of your life
Yeah.
in one house, and
I can't imagine the church doors on OLPH opening up on Kedzie Avenue.
yeah.
I've never seen
I
that.
like the old church better.
Is the old church still there?
No, it's
No,
gone.
tore it down, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I remember the next door neighbor was Georgie Ginsburg. He was a good friend of mine.
On Kimball?
On Kimball.
You mean the Cats has moved out?
No, Katz's lived upstairs,
Oh.
and Ginsburg's lived
I'll be
downstairs.
darned.
And Georgie Ginsburg, and his dad worked for Zenith.
I
And
don't remember.
they
I don't remember them at all.
They probably got transferred to Massachusetts.
I just wonder if the Cats didn't live on the first floor when I was a kid,
They might have, and
and then moved up to the second floor.
could have, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember they lived on the second floor because I remember Mrs. Katz yelling
Oh, yeah.
when I set the house on fire.
She was so ununderstanding.
Mrs. Barr, Mrs. Barr.
Oh, boy.
And that was
I
probably,
mean, our houses were separated by a gangway about 3 feet wide.
yeah.
You could have reached out the window of our house and shook hands with somebody who lived in the house next
Well,
door.
that's I remember George Ginsburg. We had one of those tin cans
Oh, yeah.
with spring,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and we could talk to each other from.
I don't remember, it must have happened while I was in the
I
army,
think-
because
I
I
think
don't
it
remember
was.
the Ginsburgs at all. And I think I would have remembered.
I was very disappointed when he moved.
Many of the folks that lived upstairs of us were deaf,
Yes,
and they stayed there, they were there as long as we were, weren't they?
yeah. What was her name? Horn?
I don't even remember them, I
Can't remember
never,
their name.
don't remember ever seeing them.
Yeah, I don't. They were both what they'd called in those days deaf and dumb,
Because they were deaf
and they couldn't speak.
Mute.
and they couldn't speak.
Mute.
But they had 2 kids that could speak,
Mhm.
and
And I don't remember their kids at all either.
Yeah.
Oh.
Billy, and I can't remember, I think there was a girl, and I don't remember what her name was, but they knew sign language.
Mhm.
And I remember I learned
A few things.
a few things of sign language.
Did you play
from
with those
them.
kids?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I don't remember them at all.
Deaf and dumb.
I wish I had recorded yesterday when you were talking about both of your encounters with the daughter of the cat's daughter. Rachel,
Oh.
was it?
Oh.
Rochelle.
Rochelle.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was so funny
I
that you would
wonder-
even have hit her.
I wonder why we both had encounters with Rochelle.
Yeah.
She was difficult.
It wasn't.
Hard personality.
She wasn't she wasn't an unpleasant person, it's just,
Well, you knew her brother,
yeah, I worked
Pretty
for
well.
I worked for her brother, and he was a pretty smart guy.
was he?
I think he went to, when I took over the route, he went to college, and I think he became a physicist.
Oh, okay.
I always thought that he might have worked on the atomic bomb,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but.
Was his name Charlie?
Charlie Katz.
Charlie
yeah.
Katz, yeah.
Mhm. But,
That was,
Well, didn't you hit her with a brick?
no, well, I don't think it was a brick. It might have been a stone or something like that. But
in addition to your fires, or how did you get into a confrontation with Rochelle?
I can't remember all the details. I do think I called her a Jew.
Oh.
Oh my.
Well, I had a friend.
And I think she threw something at me, and I
Uh-huh.
threw it back at her and hit her.
Oh.
Had a better aim.
I had a friend living over on Hutchison named Shapiro, and you know how kids are. We used to call him Hitler. That was his nickname,
Oh,
Hitler.
boy.
Oh my.
Yeah, what a bunch of thoughtful kids we were.
Yeah.
Boy.
And then, of course, I'm also going to reference the conversation we had yesterday where you were talking about your mom's liver and what you did with it.
Oh, yeah.
Serving
It-
liver.
Yeah, we would throw that up on the roof.
And of course, there was no meat on Friday, so we frequently had halibut Do you remember having halibut on
Yes,
Friday?
and I wasn't nuts about
And
fish either.
halibut was not one of my favorite
What happened to the
foods.
halibut?
Well, in those days, they
I
didn't
would-
get
I would
fresh
eat it.
halibut the way we do now.
Oh, of
What did
course,
you
my
do with
mother
it?
was a country cook, and she was a good cook of the things that we liked. But halibut was, I think he cooked it in a frying pan, don't you, Dick? You remember?
I think so, yeah.
And it was, by the time we got out of the frying pan, it was pretty tough.
Oh.
But I remember the pantry.
Oh, yeah.
That we had.
That's where I used to hide my spiced ham, you know.
Wasn't there a window at the end of the
Yeah,
pantry?
that window, I was so proud of myself for finding, when Mom hid it out there, and I opened that pantry window, and there it was.
Oh my God.
And spiced
That's what
ham,
made me
did you
so
ever have
cocky
spiced
about
ham?
it.
No, I've never
I'll
had
have to
spiced
buy
ham.
some.
No
and
place
just
that
give
you
you a
can hide
piece.
it, Mom, that I can't find it.
Is that like canned ham?
Huh?
Sort of, but it was in the deli, but
Yeah,
it was
it
less
was-
expensive than
it was-
Crocus ham.
Oh,
They didn't
okay.
have that.
And I doubt if she bought a half a pound. I think she bought a quarter of a pound, and most of our lunches were peanut butter sandwiches,
Yeah.
right? Wrapped up in old newspapers.
That's how you took it
well,
to school?
we used the plastic that bread came in, that wrapped the sandwich, and then you put the sandwiches in the plastic from the bread wrapper, and you put that in a paper. Did you have your lunch in a paper
Yeah,
bag?
yeah.
I mean, papers
Right,
wrapped up in paper?
sure.
Mm-hmm.
How did you take it
By
to
the
school?
time you
Did
got
you have
to
a
school,
backpack?
you put it in your pocket. The time you got to
No.
open up at lunchtime, that sandwich had frizzled up, practically like a little ball.
I can only imagine.
You
Oh my
remember, Dick?
God.
Isn't that what your time?
Things that
yeah,
get lost
yeah.
in history.
Yeah, things were so different in those days.
I just love that. I'm going to go back to the description of you and Don throwing your liver up on the roof. I cannot even imagine how whoever ended up discovering it, if there was anybody that could
Nobody
discover
would
it.
Cats are
discovered.
good
A
dogs.
cat
The
might
cats
find
would
it.
find
cat
it.
would get up there, boy.
But
That cat was probably up there every day, every week, looking
Waiting.
for that liver.
yeah, what would happen is we would be done with eating, but we hadn't finished the liver, and Mom would say, "Well, you sit there until you finish that liver," you know. So she would disappear, and after a while, we looked at her.
The liver would disappear.
Stick it in your pocket, and she'd come back and say, "Okay, you can go out now." And
Oh my God. I think this was a rehearsed dance. Your
Yeah.
mom knew, and that
Well,
was
she
what you
did or
did.
not.
That would be.
Well, in those days too, liver was not calf's liver, which we expect today. Then it was cow liver, and
Yeah.
it was very tough and very strong in flavor. So
Yeah.
it was a different liver than what we would buy today. And it's funny because we were talking about this, and at one point we thought, well, it's probably healthy for you. And I
Oh, yeah,
bought
a
some.
lot of iron in liver.
Well, my dad always used to order it when he was out. He'd have liver and onions.
Yes, some people
It was a
like liver.
delicacy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they
Yeah.
serve better liver at the store, at the
Well,
restaurant.
Kate
that
used to
we
like
ate.
liver and onions.
But when Dick and I had it and we were gonna eat it, and we looked at it, we threw it down the disposal. We said, we're not gonna be healthy, forget it.
You were just lucky you didn't have to eat it.
Well, Friday was always a bad day
Oh, dear.
because there was no
Oh, my.
meat. So let's see, what would we have for Friday? Take Friday lunch to school. I guess it must have been
Probably cheese or
American
something.
cheese sandwich, I
Yeah,
guess.
peanut butter, you know.
Yeah, we had the Jew store was on the corner of Cullum and Kimball, and there's still a store there,
Yeah.
but it's Hispanic.
Amazing.
And
mean,
about a
that's-
block away was the Lady.
Yeah.
And
The lady was over on Berthaud, or Bernard.
Bernard.
Yeah.
And she's.
And that was a store, there was a house, and they had turned the front parlor into a store.
Yeah, And it's no longer a store there.
Yeah.
And then there were 2 school stores up by Patrick Henry
Oh, yeah,
School.
on, what street
On
was
St.
that?
Louis.
St. Louis?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I would get a nickel allowance, I think, once a week or something like
That sounds about right.
And I would take it up to the first school store.
Yeah.
Because they had nice candy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd buy some candy and
Yeah.
that was,
The candy bar was 2 cents.
Wow.
Baby Ruth candy bar was 2 cents. And a Mars bar was 5 cents. You were really splurging when you bought a Mars bar.
Wow.
But the paper with the dots on it lasted longer.
Oh, yeah, paper with the dots, yeah.
Yeah.
What did they call that?
Paper with dots.
Oh, I'll tell you a story about coverall. You know, we had the Mars account.
Mhm.
That was 1,000 men, 5 changes a week. So that was the best account we had, you know. So we had it for years, and somebody came in with a better offer. I think we were getting $1 a change. That was about a $5,000 a week account. That was
Wow.
that was the account. So at that time I had a lady sales manager. You remember her? I know her. Can't remember her name. Anyhow, we got a word that somebody was sniffing around our Mars account. So I arranged to meet her out there and talk to the purchasing agent. And so I'm driving down to go to Mars, which was over in Oak Park Avenue, I think it was.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, how the heck can we talk to this guy? I got a flash of inspiration. I stopped and I bought a power, what do they call it? There was a candy bar called Power Bar or something
Yeah.
like that.
Sounds familiar.
And I bought that Power Bar, which was bigger than, and I bought a Mars bar. And the Mars bar cost twice as much as the Power Bar did. So I took those and put them in my briefcase, and we went in to see the purchasing agent, and we were talking about the account and everything. And so I pulled out the Power Bar and the Mars bar and put them on the desk. And the Power Bar was bigger and cheaper than the Mars bar. I said, "No, you can get a cheaper service, but can you get a quality service that we're giving you? And this Mars bar costs twice as much as this bigger bar does, but which would you rather have?" Well, he bought my
You got
argument.
that.
He stayed with us.
Oh my God. Good example, by the
Yeah.
way. That was a good
I-
visual.
I just had a flash of inspiration because I
That was
always
great.
thought of a Mars bar as the ultimate candy. Did you ever you had Mars bars?
I suppose I
You
did.
don't
I
remember
don't
them?
remember it clearly.
Oh, Mars bar would cost twice as much as a Baby Ruth, but it was just a
Really
wonderful.
good.
They stopped making it, didn't they? They don't make them
I
anymore.
don't think so.
Haven't
Yeah.
made them for a long time.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I never had one.
So that was my, boy, we had to keep that account. I mean, we had
Yeah.
to keep it, boy.
Good thinking, though. Good way of illustrating to them
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
the
there-
competition was.
You can get cheaper stuff, but, because we gave them fantastic service, you know. I mean, if they called, whatever they wanted, they got, and they got it fast, you know, because we valued their account very, very highly, naturally. So,
Was the first coverall on Potomac Street,
yes, Potomac and Damon,
Damon?
yeah. Just off of Damon on Potomac, so that would have been 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
And was right next to a Chinese laundry. There was two stores in that building, you know, and with apartments above.
Mhm.
And there were 25-foot frontage, so the building was probably 50 foot frontage. And the Chinese laundry was 25 feet, and we were right next door. And I used to walk by that Chinese store, and they had a storefront window, and that storefront was heaped high with shirts. They did nothing but shirts.
Mm.
And I used to walk by that going to our store, which we didn't have very much business. I'd look at all those shirts that the guy had, and we didn't, we
You
were
weren't there
really
yet.
just getting started, you know.
Yeah.
So it was quite a contrast.
You know, I never heard how that whole thing got started. So did you start it, or
No,
did Granddaddy
it
start
was
it?
Granddaddy's idea.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I got home in I got home December of 45. And I've been home, and I started college in about January 15th, 45. And,
46.
46.
Mhm.
The tumult of starting school, and then shortly after we found out we were going to be evicted in
So
June.
Had to find a place to live.
So we had the tumult of starting college and looking for a new place to live.
And you it was hard to find a place to rent in those
Yeah.
days.
Oh yeah, right after the war.
Yeah, everybody.
Even
was
when I got
looking.
married, I had a very hard time finding a place to rent. That was 7 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. So Dad, as usual, found a place for us, and so I don't remember. Do you remember moving, Dick, at all? I don't remember the actual moving day, but we moved.
I don't either, I don't.
So we're in the new place on Costner, and it had a garage behind it. We didn't have a garage over on Kimball. Well, we had a garage, but we never kept our car in the garage, did we, Dick? Or maybe we did.
We didn't always have a car.
No, we didn't always have a car. But anyhow, here I am finishing up my first semester of college, and Dad broaches this idea about starting this laundry to me. By this time, I already knew I wanted to go to law school. And, you know, he's telling me about this idea he has, and I'm thinking, boy, I don't know about this, you know.
Yeah, you're not lined up with it.
Yeah, but he was determined that we were going to do it. So I went along with it, and see, he had planned out there'd be 5 of us, one day for each day of the week, and each guy had to put in $500. Well, I had my whole Army salary saved for almost 3 years, so I didn't have any trouble raising $500. Dad had $500 because he had worked that part-time job during the war, and Russ and Stan borrowed $500 each from their rich brother-in-law, and Harry borrowed $500 from his mother because he didn't have a penny.
Yeah.
Harry, during the war, Harry got to be rank of major in the artillery. And when the war ended, he came home and he spent about 2 weeks going to Northwestern, and it was not for him.
Oh my.
So here's a guy, Army major, driving a taxi cab and living at home with his mother.
Oh my.
And Dad, because Harry's father had died, Dad became like a second father to Harry. You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is Harry, by the way?
He's our first cousin.
Rita Cole's
Rita
brother?
Cole's father.
Younger brother?
Rita Cole's
Rita Cole's
father.
brother.
Brother?
No, younger brother.
Yeah,
Brother. Okay.
Iola
He
and
was
Leela,
the,
her other sisters.
He was
Okay.
the youngest. It was a boy. There were 3 girls and a boy.
Okay.
He was kind of the apple of his mother's eye, you know. Yeah.
He never went overseas, did he?
What?
He never went overseas during the war.
No,
did
he didn't. No, that's how he
He was
became
in
an
before
instructor.
the war started.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was down in Kentucky and then introduced Leela to Roy Clemens because he worked with Roy in the Army. And
Yeah.
said,
Oh.
I'm a sister.
Yeah.
Get together there.
So anyhow, Harry borrowed $500 from his mother, so we had $2,500 and a plan. And Dad thought we could get the dairy business because he knew everybody in the dairy business in Chicago, because he worked at a dairy. And he was kind of a minor official in the union, as a representative. So that was the plan. So we bought a used truck from Walzer Meat Market.
Our meat market.
Where we bought our meat for 10 years over on Kimball Avenue.
No, they were on Spalding.
Oh, they were on Spalding, yeah.
And Montrose.
Yeah. And how we happened to buy their truck, I don't know, but it was a used truck. And we bought lettering, gold lettering from some store, and it spelled out Coverall Laundry Service. And we put that on I can just see us in the garage putting that on the truck on both sides of the panel, you know.
That's why we don't have a picture of it.
And it was kind of, and it wasn't straight, it was kind of a half circle, you know, getting it right, you know, cover all, it's a lot of words.
Yes, it is.
Getting it on that space. I think we paid $500 for the truck, but I'm not sure about that. So now we're down to $2,000.
Oh my.
And Dad finds this store on Potomac Avenue. He was a great reader of the classified ads, because that's how we found our house on Costner too. And so he rented the store. I don't remember how much the rent was, but let's say it's $100 a month. So, and we didn't have to pay the whole $1,200. So then we had to go out and buy some laundry equipment. So we found an ad and phone book for used laundry equipment. And so Harry and Dad and I went to this place on Western Avenue, about somewhere around north of Lawrence Avenue on Western. And we bought a industrial size washing machine, which is, how big was it? It was about a little bit wider, wider than that bookcase. And it had a metal exterior and a wooden interior where the clothes would wash around. And Dad knew all about motors and boilers and stuff like that. And he bought a used boiler. And so we bought this washing machine, and we bought a industrial dryer too. So we're closed up this deal, and we're about to walk out of the store, and the guy says, he knew we were going to start a little laundry business. He says, "You need an extractor." And we didn't even know what an extractor was. And you know, of course, extractor is what you wash the clothes, and then your washing machine goes into an automatic spin cycle. Well, we didn't know that. We thought we would wash it and then you'd dry them.
Yeah.
So we had to buy an extractor. He told us what an extractor was, and we realized we had to have an extractor.
Huh.
So I don't know what the total cost was, but it had to be at least $750, you know, for the 3 pieces, at least that. So we bought the extractor and it delivered to this store. And we had bought this boiler too, which I don't know how much that cost. Dad was doing all the buying of this stuff.
Running out of money.
And we're getting the $2,500 is getting a little slim, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is, with an extractor, you've got to really anchor that thing down, because if it spins out of control, you know, it won't, first of all, it won't extract, and so we had to anchor it very solidly to the floor of the store, and it was a wood floor, and we turned it on to see how it worked, and the whole building started shaking.
Oh, God.
And there's people living upstairs.
Oh my God.
And when you're when you're drying clothes in a dryer, you know, you create lint.
Oh no.
So we had to we had to build a pipe from the dryer. We ran the pipe from the dryer. We ran into the toilet area because that was a little enclosed space. So that toilet area
Would
got
catch.
all full of lint.
I've never heard this before. This is so funny.
I don't think. So anyhow, then we had to go down to the union to get a union driver because you could not do any business in Chicago without union work at that time.
Oh my gosh.
So we went down to the union on Jackson Boulevard and Ashland Avenue, and we told them what we wanted to do, and they called us into a conference room, and they started telling us, well, this is the craziest idea you ever had in your life. This is not going to work. You fellas are crazy, you know. Well, by this time we had all the equipment, we had the store, we had everything. So
No
we're
going
told,
back.
We're going into the laundry business. And after a lot of back and forth, and these guys are very tough guys, you know, they're union leaders, they are not sissies. So, but we weren't backing down either. And this was Harry and Dad and I. Russ and Stan were just, they were along for the ride. You know, they would do whatever Dad wanted them to do.
Sort of.
They were so loyal to him. I mean, he was the boss as far as they're concerned. So anyhow, we could say we had to have a union driver. Well, they gave us the nephew of one of the union officials as our driver. He was a young kid and a nasty kid and probably a troublemaker in the family. They thought this kid will put them out of business, you know.
Yeah.
So we had to hire him, and he was our first driver. And Dad was true to his belief. He got us a couple of customers doing laundry coveralls to start us off. So we had income the first week. We had to have income because we had to pay the driver. So after about 3-4 months with this guy, having missing deliveries, not showing up, just not getting finished. We didn't have more than a couple hours work for him, and we had to pay him a full 8-hour day pay, but he screwed up anyhow. So finally we were able to go out and say, you got to let us get a driver. We can't put up with this guy any longer. So by this time we were doing a little business, and they saw we were not going to give up easily. So they let us hire our own driver.
Why would they want you not to be in business?
Because they were in cahoots with everybody else who was in that business.
Oh, gotcha. So they were trying to get you
They were
out.
trying to work with the guys that were in that business.
Got it.
And first of all, Dad thought that he had the original idea. He didn't know anybody had ever been in this business before.
Oh no. Oh
so
my
only
gosh.
after we got into the business, we find out this is not unique. Other people are doing this.
Oh my gosh.
See, Dad wore a coverall for his job. He was a pasteurizer at a dairy.
Yeah.
So that's why he started
He knew.
specialize in doing
But they were too
coveralls.
cheap to have the uniforms done, so he had to take his home, burn it, and
Oh,
wash it.
so that
he
was
could-
a
Well,
new
especially
idea.
during the war, there was a shortage of soap, and there was family laundry businesses didn't want these dirty coveralls.
Yeah.
But so there were companies that were doing that stuff, but they weren't taking new customers because they couldn't get any soap. So the dairies were having a hell of a time getting for the health department, they had to have clean coveralls.
Right, right.
So Dad was experiencing this during the war, so that's where he got the idea.
Only to find out that there were a lot of other people in the business already.
And these guys have been in business for 25, they were big companies.
Oops.
So we were competitors theirs. So the only way we got business was by lowering the price from what they were charged. You know?
Right, right.
So that's how we got the business.
And so Dad was working as a pasteurizer in a dairy and trying to start a business.
Oh my
And
God.
Ken and Harry were in college. And,
Well, Harry was out of college by
yeah,
this time.
that's true.
Harry was.
And then Stan and Russ were working also at the dairy with Dad.
But they could pick their own days off because dairies have to run 7 days a week, so.
Right.
Everybody, so Dad just arranged for us to have Monday and Stan to have Tuesday, and Dad would theoretically have Wednesday, but he was there every day. And Harry was there most days too because he didn't have another job. And I arranged my classes so I could be there one day. So that's how.
You were all free labor.
We were all free labor. And Mom was doing the mending at home.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And they would have their board meetings at home, at our house, the kitchen table. And I was one of the first employees,
You were?
yeah.
You know, you didn't tell her about the board meetings. The board meetings would be in the kitchen with a fifth of whiskey. And when the fifth of whiskey was gone, the board meeting was over.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Since I didn't drink whiskey, there was only 4 guys
Drinking.
drinking, and,
Oh my
and
God.
they polish off that fifth of whiskey and we discuss
Other
what's
stuff.
going on. Oh Lord.
And I remember, I don't know if Dad.
What are your recollections of those
I don't
days,
know
Dick?
if Dad said that one day he and Stan were gonna go out and make a couple sales calls.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And Dad said, you go down the street, you call on that company, I'll go this way, and then we'll meet back here at this restaurant. And so they did their sales call, and they got back to the restaurant, and Stan said to Dad, he said, Pete, I'll do anything you ask me to do, but I'll never make another sales call.
Wow. Didn't like it.
No.
Did you make sales calls?
Oh, sure, that's when I
mean, I know you made the
well,
one.
see, I had graduated from law school, and I had an office downtown, and I was practicing law and also getting married at this time. And but remember, Dad is working a full-time job, going out on these sales calls,
Oh my
and
gosh.
without a car a lot of the time, taking the streetcar down to these different dairies or down to the meatpacking district and making sales calls and going to work and working 8-hour day and come home. Well, after 3 or 4 years of all this, I could see the impact it was having on Dad.
Wow.
So, and I wasn't setting the world on fire as a lawyer, so I just realized that this could not go on like this. So I stopped my law practice and I went to work full-time at the laundry. And I took over sales and the office, and Harry took over production. So,
And what did Pete do at that point?
well, Pete went back to his
Just
being the boss and just doing his regular dairy job. But I mean, when I say just doing his regular, he was still very involved with the laundry,
Wow.
I mean, but he wasn't having to go out on sales call in the morning at 8 o'clock and then working till noon and then going to his regular job and working till 8 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh.
So you could see how you couldn't only do that for a certain amount of time.
Right.
So,
I would only imagine that most of us don't realize how much of a hard worker he was.
He was in dynamo.
I think that is why you all are that way too.
Well,
You're hard workers.
We do. We had the example set for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Nothing
interesting
less.
example, though, was years afterwards. I think it was about the time that Don was marrying Jane, and we had kind of a ladies' luncheon with Jane with us and all. We're talking about the laundry. And it's the only time I've ever seen your mother have her claws come out, because she didn't have, obvious claws. She was very laid back. But this one time she was talking about how they had a board meeting for the laundry, and they did not include her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not good, because she was the one
Yeah.
repairing these coveralls
Yeah.
whenever they get ripped or torn. It was she who was taking
Yeah.
work in her kitchen with her sewing machine.
And they didn't include her.
And
No.
they hadn't included her, and I
No.
mean, we could just see that she was not pleased with
Yeah.
that aspect. She should have been a partner in this group, and
Wow.
Yeah,
they
she's
didn't
absolutely
consider
right.
that. Yes.
Absolutely right.
But it was interesting,
Wow.
kind of new in,
That was
women's
a-
lib, but.
That was a different
She
time.
was very much a support person.
Oh my
when these
God.
places needed.
We wouldn't have, without her, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah,
Wow.
there you were.
It was a
I've
sign of the
thought-
times.
I said the other day, I've thought often, I wish I had the opportunity to apologize to my mother for taking her for granted.
Yeah, that's the way we treated women in those days.
Yeah.
Glad that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you girls are lucky you live in a different time.
We do. We expect respect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Okay, I'm
demand
gonna say we're done
respect.
on this video. We're good. You guys, thank you so much.
Wow.